We're back with a new toy. Now I know what you're thinking, and you're absolutely right. This is a lower end airsoft gun. Surprisingly enough, this is the one of the most retailed airsoft guns on the market. And when I say retailed, I mean like you're gonna go to a non-airsoft store and find this thing. I've seen people get one, open it, and shoot it and be like, here's the airsoft gun. You know, it's a good starter airsoft gun. Yeah. Which I will agree, it's a good starter airsoft gun. It's good for CQB. It's advertised 340 FPS, but that's a doubt. I looked at reviews on eVic, people saying don't use anything more powerful than 9.6 volt. Agreed. It's not a LiPo gun, obviously. This is the officially licensed HK416, the lowest end one you can get, courtesy of Tractor Supply, where if you saw my last video, you'd know that the Tractor Supply is having airsoft guns half off right now. Probably discounted quite a bit, because how often are you going to Tractor Supply to buy airsoft guns? Every 6 months or so, I'm probably going to do just like an out of the blue video where me and a friend go Tractor Supply hopping, because there's like, I don't know, like 30? That's an exaggeration. There's probably like 10 different Tractor Supplies all within a 20-mile radius of me, and we would go Tractor Supply hopping to look at their airsoft stock, which would be a fun little video. I bought this thing, which normally retails at $100 on eVic minus the shipping, or Amazon, you know, 120. At Tractor Supply, it's on the shelf at 130, but we only paid $60 for it. I wouldn't have bought it and made this video if I paid more than 100 for it, because from what I've seen of this gun, it's not the best. I'm going to actually see how good it is. Like I stated, every time I've seen one of these videos, I have not seen anybody, I've yet to see anybody on YouTube take this gun apart and actually look at the inside. It does run the version 2 gearbox, which means you can get this as a shell and pop out the gearbox and throw in, like, I wouldn't throw in like a Polar Star or anything into this thing, but the eVic special, they do like an $85 gearbox and motor combo, which would probably be better than the default one in here, maybe, or even just throw in like a cheaper, higher end LiPo ready. If you wanted to budget a 416 build, it would be cheaper to do this than to buy it, you know, a straight up better one. Good 416s run up to $400 to $500, and then the same Umarex 416 has a step up from this one. This is like the base space you can get, and it comes in the goofy plastic shell. But the step up would be the HK 416 VFC, which is the one that will come in the fancy no compromise box. Better internals and a better outer shell, and you know, better polymer, because I'm pretty sure this isn't actually polymer. A lot of people say polymer without knowing that, like, hey, this is a hard plastic that isn't polymer. Polymer's always got like this finish to it. This one seems to be plastic, but then again, I haven't actually opened it and held it myself to really think on it if it's polymer, or maybe even like somewhere in the manual it'll say it's polymer. We're gonna tear this thing apart and see what it's actually made out of. And this isn't like a full-on review of the gun. Again, I have to use it at the field to see if it can handle actual airsoft play to count the video as a review. But I'm just curious to see what's inside, and, you know, it was cheap. Super cheap. $60. Normally it's not that cheap, but that's a good fucking steal. If you're seeing this video, go check your Tractor Supply, your local Tractor Supply, see if they're running those specials still, those discounted clearance on their airsoft, because it's a good deal. $60 is what this gun should be retailed at. I'm not going to show footage of me tearing this plastic apart, so we're just going to cut to my workbench where the gun's already opened and everything, and I'll talk about it. And I don't know how I'm going to do the angle. If the angle's super close up, please excuse it, because I don't really have a good like workbench film setup where I can tinker in front of the camera, but I'll do my best until I have the space for something better. Okay, so here I got my gun on the little workbench here. I went to check, and there's like a square nut or an Allen key. I don't have an Allen key or square nut that'll reach this. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to fully get the gun apart. I just took the screws out to split the plastic molding, and you can see the gearbox in there. It is one of those clear plastic gearbox. On eVic, it says that it's a polymer gearbox, access to the motor, but if you have a long enough square key or Allen key to reach down to the buffer tube to get the buffer tube off. Things should split open like a ham sandwich. And I got the barrel out here. You can see it's just got your standard style hop up. It does have the metal barrel. You can see here I tried to use that Allen key to reach it, but I have this little tracer negative to positive threaded piece that I tried to jerry rig onto the barrel. I tried electrical tape to slip it in, and unfortunately it didn't go back together at the end where the barrel casting comes together. It's way too thick, and putting the tracer unit on, it's a bit crooked. So this method didn't work, and that's where I proposed the tracer magazine solution. Upon further inspection, taking this thing apart, if you don't have a elongated square nut, square wrench or whatever, you can't get the buffer tube off. It doesn't use a regular Phillips for the back there. It uses a little square nut. So you need that to take it off, to fully take it apart. I did the best I could. I took the screws, which this doesn't use traditional pins because it's a cheap budget. On camera, this looks crispy, especially now that I've thrown some attachments on just to get an idea of what you can do with it. So instead of pins, it's just like one casted plastic mold for each side, you know, sandwiched together. So the way to take it apart is you gotta take off all of the screws that are around, and then make sure you have a square wrench for the back. It's not an Allen key, it's a square wrench, but then you can take the buffer tube off, and then it should just, that's how you get it out. As far as upgrades go, I think it's a proprietary version 2 gearbox because it is a M4 shaped gearbox. If I could fully get it apart one day, I don't have the tools, so I will invest in some at a later date so I could take it apart, and we could, I have some broken gearboxes that are just sitting that I could test to see if they would even fit and put this gun together to upgrade it, because it is a nice design. It's super lightweight. Gearbox are plastic gears. Because of that, it's one of the better plastic gearboxes. It's actually genuinely good. From when I was shooting it with the 2 O's inside, it was kind of a laser beam, not gonna lie. So it's good. I haven't shot it more than probably, what is that, 50 feet? Probably more than 50 feet. So I don't know how it works beyond 50 feet, how the BBs travel. That being said, plastic gearbox, metal barrel, as stated on the little packaging. However, this is not polymer. This is plastic. I mean, polymer plastic, it's not the... If polymer is just a fancy word for plastic, it's not the thick, realistic polymer you're used to in an airsoft gun. The polymer they use for high-quality airsoft guns, $200 airsoft guns, my Vulcan M4 polymer, or just the polymer on pistol grips, that polymer is used on real firearms. It's the same grade polymer, it's just as thick, just as strong. This would shatter if a gun shot off, if this was an actual mechanism. It's not as thick. If you dropped this, it might break. Not maybe on the first drop, but if you dropped it from more than 10 feet, it definitely would break. You can't tell on camera. The build quality looks crispy, but you could see in the light it's got that shine to it. It's not a textured plastic like most polymer airsoft guns are. That's pretty much it for build quality. I put 9.6 volts in it, and it sounds pretty good, actually. Good old nunchucks fit perfect inside this here majigger. Inside this doohickey. 9.6 volt semi. It's pretty responsive. I don't know how long plastic gears could go handling that. We'll see what happens when I play with it for a full day. If it even survives a full day. Now it could be its own video. Yeah. It works. With the BBs in it, it works even better. I'm actually impressed with how the BBs come out, the 2.0 BBs come out of this thing. Oh, no threads. That was the one thing I wanted to talk about. There are no threads on this here fancy HK. So, what I did was I took it apart and I pulled the barrel out, and I took one of those negative thread adapters that screw into a barrel, and I just kind of slid it in there and electrical taped around it so that way I could slide the tracer on it. But the tracer is crooked, so that didn't even work. So I gotta literally take that off. You can see it's like that didn't work. So I had to take it off, or I have to take it off just for now. It just was for looks, but you can't replace a threaded barrel with this thing unless you had like a tap and die set and wanted to like create threads over the plastic, which I'm sure you could cut into it to make threads on the plastic. That might actually work. I don't have the tools, so I can't theory test it. That eliminates mock suppressors and tracers on this thing. My best recommendation is to buy that Tracer Unit M4 magazine, the King Arms 300 round Luminous Tracer BB Ready Airsoft AAG magazine. The only thing that sucks about using that magazine, it is a high cap magazine. They don't make a mid cap version that I know of. I couldn't find one in eVic. So you're stuck with the high cap magazine. The tactical maracas. Magazines! It takes standard M4 style magazines, right? You got a Lancer Tactical high cap EMG clear fake bullet airsoft magazine. Works well. And this, I'm impressed that it takes this mag, because some of the M4s don't like this magazine because the magazine catch groove on it, the little plastic groove that catches it, it's not very deep compared to most magazines, so it doesn't catch well. But this magazine works great with this gun. I've already shot and tested through all these mags, so they feed properly, no problem. Magpul PTS style, or the PTS Airsoft magazine, which, believe it or not, PTS is a division of Magpul. PTS Airsoft magazine, the best M4 mid-cap on the market, works for this gun. Real AR M4 magazine also works for this gun. I brought the wrong bullets to the airsoft field. So, let's move on to the price points and why I think you shouldn't buy this gun unless you have a Tractor Supply nearby. I paid $64.99 for this gun after tax. My opinion, it is well worth the $64.99. Retailed off the shelf without the discount, it was sitting at $129.99, and that was before tax, is the price tag on the shelf. I would not pay more than $100 for this gun. eVic has this gun, and Amazon has this gun listed at $100 before shipping. After shipping, you probably would be paying around $130. If you're lucky, $110. I would not pay $110 for this gun. If you're going to spend the money on a cheap airsoft gun, I would save up the extra bucks and get a Lancer Tactical, especially with the Gen 3 Lancer Tacticals that they have out now. Those are insane. Or, as I've talked about a million times before, the Snow Wolf AUG. That AUG is LiPo ready, can handle 11.1 LiPo. I would know, I've used it for a year consistently. It is always consistent, no matter how many times I've taken it apart, put it back together, swap things around on that AUG. It has always been reliable and worked, and it was $135. So you could pay the extra $15 to get a really good field gun that can compete. And this can compete, don't get me wrong, but it's super cheap, brittle plastic. There's no wobble other than this sling mount. Like, if I guess there's a little, but if I take the stock off, nothing. The casting on it is good. You could put on like a different, if you had like a brown stock, you could throw a brown stock on there, personalize it a bit. For a $60 gun, this build would blow any other gun out the water, but for a $130 gun, you can buy way better airsoft guns at that price point. Hell, my fucking AK was $180, so we're at a $200 price point, and it's got a metal receiver. It's metal. It's got a metal buffer tube. It's metal. The only polymer parts are the handguard. Everything else from this front sight fixture to the outer barrel, all metal. All metal. Metal. Only polymer part, only polymer part, only polymer part. Metal gearbox, metal everything for the $200. Save up your money to get a different gun. If you have a Tractor Supply nearby, go inside, give them a call, ask if they have the deals, or if you go into the Tractor Supply and you see this 416 on the shelf, have them check to see if it's on clearance, because then I will say this gun is worth the $60. The $65 I paid for it. It is worth $65. It is not worth $100. It's good. It has, you know, your standard style hop up. There's no fake cover. You know, you could just see the gearbox right here and the hop up right there. I mean, you could take it apart and take the gearbox apart and replace the gears with metal gears, but by the time you spent all that money, you could have upgraded an actual, like, competition style airsoft gun. If you're so keen on an HK 416, save up the $200 and just get the VFC version. They're both made, this is made by Umarex, Elite Force Umarex, but the VFC AAG has a full polymer, thick, sturdy polymer body, full metal gearbox, fully upgradable, and it might even be lipo ready. This plastic junker I paid $60 for at Tractor Supply. Here are the specs and what it is. So that's the base. This gun is not worth the price with the shipping. If Evic had it listed for $40 before shipping, and you total it out to $60 after shipping, and I'm just roughly rounding up $20 of shipping, because sometimes Evic shipping is expensive. Go to your Tractor Supply, see if they have this gun. If they have it for the $60, it is worth the $60, and it'll be a fun gun to goof around with. Treat it well, though. I'm sure if you treat it right, it'll last a decent amount. I've seen people commenting saying that, like, hey, this was my first ever airsoft gun, and it lasted through the years. Or some people still have it today, and they still use it just because, haha, HK 416. No threads, plastic gearbox, overpriced as shit. Final conclusion, the long story short, too long didn't read. Don't buy this gun. Go to Tractor Supply, see if they have it discounted for $60. Do not pay more than the discounted price for this gun. You could get the Game Face Ripcord M4, which is better. You can get the Game Face AK-74, which is better than this gun. You can get the Snow Wolf AUG, which blows everything out of the water at that price point. Save up the extra money and get a $200 AEG, get a Lancer Tactical M4. This gun is not worth $130. It was only $65, and that's why I bought it, and I made this video about it. I hope that you guys got everything you wanted to hear out of this. If you were looking at this $100 gun online, or saw it at your local store on the shelf for the price and wanted to know if it was worth it. No,